To try to dispel this philosophical delusion, Hofstadter posits that Knurking and Glebbing, two words he made up, are two vastly different sensations that any human brain can experience. Quote, all humans are created in the womb with these experiences as part of their built-in repertoire. You and I were born with Knurking and Glebbing as standard features. In some folks, though, it's red light that makes them knurk and blue light that makes them glebe, while in others it's the reverse. When you were tiny, one of the colors red and blue happened to trigger knurking more often, while the other one triggered glebbing more often. By the age of 5 or so, this initial tendency had settled in for good. No science could predict which way it would go, nor tell which way it wound up, but it happened anyway, end quote. Thus, everyone ends up on opposite sides of the glebe/knurk fence, but nobody could ever know which side. Hofstadter stresses that in this new inverted spectrum scenario, quote, the association of red light or blue light with knurking is not any kind of postnatal wiring pattern that gets launched in a baby's brain and reinforced as it grows. In fact, although I stated above that to knurk and to glebe are experiences that all babies' brains come innately equipped with, they are not distinguishable brain processes. It's not possible to determine, no matter how fancy the brain scanning gadgets that one has access to, whether my brain or yours is knurking or glebbing. In short, we are not talking about objectively observable or measurable facts about the brain, end quote. Hofstadter then points out that the inverted spectrum riddle is not about objectively observable facts. If it were, he says, quote, it would be as easy as pie to tell the difference between ourselves and the 50 million French people whose inner sensations are all wrong. We would just examine their grey matter and pinpoint the telltale spot where certain key connections were flipped with respect to ours. Then we could watch their French brains engage in glebbing when the identical retinal stimulus would provoke knurking in our brains. But that's not in the least the meaning of the inverted spectrum idea. The meaning is that despite having identical brain wirings, two people looking at the same object experience completely different color sensations, end quote. Hofstadter reminds us that neither knurking nor glebbing is an identifiable physical phenomenon in the brain. Consequently, he concludes experiencing one instead of the other must be based on pure feelings in the mind rather than in the brain. In other words, belief in the inverted spectrum inevitably requires a belief in mind-body dualism. Hofstadter says, quote, knurking is that inherently incommunicable sensation that you supposedly have when red light, or blue light if you're French, hits your eyes. French people have all the same internal physical events happen in their brains as we do, but they don't have the same experiences as ours. French people experience glebbing when red light hits their retina, and knurking when blue light hits it. So just what is this knurking experience then, if it isn't anything physically identifiable in a brain? The inverted spectrists say it is pure feeling. Since this distinction is completely independent of physics, it amounts to dualism, end quote.